Have you ever been trapping before? Have you ever set a Conibear or any other trap? If you want to learn more about trapping, you can come with me next season. I've set this Conibear many times, so I feel that I am educated enough to tell you how to set it. Today I'm going to show you how to set a Conibear. The materials you need to set this trap are a Conibear, a stake, and I would recommend using these scissor setters to set these. The first step you'll want to do is make sure that the springs on the Conibear are straight out to the side. You'll then begin by taking the scissor setters and putting it in this eyelet of the spring. You'll then squeeze the spring closed and set the lock in place. That way it holds the springs together. After you have that done on all three traps, then the next thing you do is you take the box on this 330 and you twist it in opposite directions and squeeze it together. You then take the dog and you lock it in place with this trigger. And what that does is it holds it and it sets the trigger, so that way when the animals trip the trigger, the trap will go off. Then you release the safes after you have the trap in place, and you want to make sure that you do not release the safes too early, because the Conibear is a very dangerous trap. After you have the release off, or the safes off, the trap is ready to go. You then do the same thing with the 220. Twist it in opposite directions and then set the dog on the trigger again. There's different strengths to set the dog, and I would recommend the strongest because it has the most power. After you have this done, you'll once again take the safes off after you have it in place. And then on the smallest trap, the 110, you could probably set it using your hands because it is not as strong, because it is not needed to be as strong, because it's only for muskrats and not coon or beaver like the 220 or the 330. With the 110, you can squeeze it and open it, and same thing applies, just set the dog on the trigger. The Conibear is a very deadly trap and is designed to kill, because I like using Conibears because then the animals do not have to suffer when they are in the traps. And lastly, you'll take your stake and you'll pound it in the ground with a hammer. But I cannot do it today because the ground is frozen outside. Now I'm going to show you what happens when an animal walks through the Conibear. In this 110, you will mainly trap muskrats because it is smallest and that is what it's designed for. In the 220 Conibear, you will trap coons and sometimes mink. And lastly, the 330 is mainly designed for beaver. The Conibear is a very deadly trap, and you want to be careful when you are setting it. In conclusion, now that you know how to set a Conibear, you can become a trapper as well. I challenge you to get a license because trapping is very fun. Make sure you're thinking while using these traps so you aren't the one being trapped.